There it is, my phone's spazzing out. My phone's water damaged, so it just monged out there. So this is part 2. Irritatingly enough though, when you upload like a 2-parter, you never get as many views as in the second part as the first. But hey well, as I say though, this is sort of the route that I would take normally. As I said, I had to take a detour at the start, but this takes you along the side of the loch that eventually leads to a sort of dead end in many respects. I haven't established if there is a proper path around the entirety of it, but like this here, you would think there was, but you do run into a bit of trouble. Trouble being, yeah, my silence. You just don't know where to go. I know where to go now. I made my own path. I've followed it a dozen times or more. But it's one of those things where if this was your first time attending the loch, you might scratch your head a bit. There is another path which goes around the other side of the loch. If you follow this path that I'm on and you manage to make your own path, you will sort of come around the other side of the loch and then end up on the other path, which takes you way over there. This is the island here. I'm pretty sure, as I said, this is Clan Macintosh's island, still owned by the Macintoshes. But away over there, where those, I don't know if the camera's picking up the voices, but there is voices way down there. But you eventually end up way over there, and then you walk along the trees away in the distance, and you end up way up there where those trees are, and then it takes you back round. But it really is absolutely beautiful loch. I'm going to continue walking for a bit more before I end up running into the trouble that I spoke about. But before I do that, I think I'll stop here for a few minutes and I'll talk a bit more. It's really pissed off. This is going to have to be a 2-parter now. But yeah, so I said earlier on that I ended up burnt out to a certain extent with the building racial literacy stuff and whatnot. Obviously it wasn't the only thing. I'm not going to sit here and pretend otherwise. If you know, you know. If you don't, I hope you don't. It's just one of those things. But I'm sort of taking a back seat. I still pay attention. I got a new job as well. A job that I thoroughly enjoy. And it just means that I'm sort of a lot less able to view the same amount of material in the same time frame that I was doing beforehand. I'd like to make a promise that I would get back to that. I can't. And I've obviously met a new woman. There's a woman in my life now who I spend most of my weekends with. So that's why there's a sort of decline in the amount of streams and stuff that I appear on. But, which is good, you know. I fundamentally think it's sad that people spend far too much time exactly doing what I did, which I made reference to earlier. People spend far too much time in their houses, and it's sort of sad. You know, they should just get out more, even if they're doing what I do. This is my pastime. This is what I love doing. Viewing tranquility in its purest form. To sound gay, but I know it's not for everybody, and I know it's not something that everybody's able to do, even if they wish to do so. They're living in their concrete jungles and whatnot, but it's still nonetheless sort of sad, and I do express a semblance of sympathy for that. Of course I do. I'm not a total knob, but I just can't spend the same amount of time doing these things. You know, Clive Chance, he used to call me, he probably still does, to be fair, calls me like an autist, because like I'm a sort of encyclopedia with all things Scottish government. I'd probably throw something out there and say that that's probably not the case now, because a lot of stuff seems to pass me by now, despite my best efforts to try to keep an element of an eye on proceedings. But I do try. But yeah, Obviously, I still do this stream at the end of the month with Sensum and 42. I'm doing that now probably since the start of the year. Scott Sarmer's obviously returned, which is a good thing. He was sorely missed by a lot of people. We've got a stream planned for next Sunday. Me, him and Clive, no chance. I return to Sunday with the lads. It's not going to be as regular as it was, obviously. It was every Sunday. It's not going to be the case anymore. And me and Scott have spoken a wee bit about going forward what the streams will contain. And we're both sort of in agreement about what we should be discussing. And to, you know, keep cards close to the chest, so to speak. Not that it's anything that's going to blow anybody's mind away. It's more or less things that people should be talking about but don't, really. You know, it's all very well and good to throw up a stream and go, oh my god, Nicola Sturgeon said this. Who gives a fuck? You know? Who gives a shit? So yeah, that's coming. So sorry for the wee pause there. Thought I would just sit down for a bit. But yeah, as I say, ordinarily I would walk through all those trees. Bit of a maze through there. That's the sort of part where you have to make your own path. It's annoying. And excuse my ignorance, there might genuinely be a path that I've just not found that takes you around the entirety of the loch from the side. As I say, you can go all the way along that way, but you still end up banging into the section where you have to sort of make your own. But yeah, I think I'll just sort of conclude with two things. Smoking right now. Bad, I know. You know, but it's funny how they're talking about wildfires right now. And there was obviously one, I'm not entirely sure if it's still burning, in the Highlands at present in Canich, which is near Glenafric, near where I live as well. But instantaneously the sort of climate dickheads came out to insinuate that it was climate change related, the new normal, Maggie Chapman, etc., etc. And despite the fire service and other organisations coming out and saying that the likelihood was it's believed to be a wild campfire that went wrong, which is sort of the norm, silence. They sort of pick up on whatever they can to push their narrative. Now, one could argue that fires could be started intentionally, and they are on many occasions, hence why people are arrested on many occasions for arson all across the world, Australia, California, even England, America, etc., etc. It could be argued that you could start a fire, provided you don't get caught. Hey presto, the narrative will be climate change, because they're so determined to push that. And it really pisses me off. The only thing that we have in our favour in many respects, despite the mainstream and the establishment's best intentions to sort of suppress the alternative view, is memory. My mother and people of her generation and generations before her remember summers that were a lot more blistering than the summer that we are currently experiencing. A couple of weeks of nice weather and all of a sudden, it's drier than usual, it's climate change, you know, the histrionic narrative never ends. The children, it could be argued there's no saving them, sadly, because of what they're learning in school and they know no different, etc. But people of my age, I'm in my late 20s, people older, etc., they have memories. The same argument could be applied to the LGBT stuff. They said we need LGBT education because we need to promote and make sure that tolerance is taught. Well, we didn't need any of this grotesque education for people to grow up with a mindset that was sort of accepting to people that were different. But no, that's not good enough. We need absolute abhorrent debauchery to be taught now. But to the point, before I end up on another fucking tangent, is the climate change stuff. You know, this is what they're taught now. Absolutely everything they They home in on and they say, it's climate change. No, it's not. It's just a bit of warm weather. It's no fucking different to warm periods prior. But they were so determined to say that Cannock was a wildfire created because of climate change, ignoring the fact that the likelihood was that it was man-made, not climate change, but the fire itself. Then they sort of add a sort of straw man to that, and they say, not straw man, sorry, they've got a sort of thing to deflect when you point that out. Oh, but the conditions. Oh, just bog off. Bog off. You know, then we've got Canada as well, fire starting all over the place. Bit weird. Even if it was, the conditions were correct for a fire to start because of a man-made climate crisis. It's a bit strange that they're happening everywhere at the same time across Canada, don't you think? You know, a fire might start somewhere, but all over the place. Come on now. Bit weird. But what do I know? I'm just a crazy conspiracy theorist. And anyway, just to conclude this, as I said, I might very well start doing these sort of things in the future. Maybe not necessarily rambling about politics and stuff, but just recording my walks with my dog and stuff when I get some money together for a camera. But yeah, this is a different video, I suppose. Lock Moy, everybody. Was going to go further, but I'm sort of frightened that my phone's going to spurg out again. Didn't even press anything, it just made multiple vibrating noises, vibrated relentlessly, cut the video off. Now this is a two-parter, but hey ho. Until next time, peace.